Tom's voice bellowing from his room just moments prior. Quickly throwing on a pair of pants, he went out to the top of the landing and then looked down the steps where Mrs. Bruce stood on the opposite side of the door from Tommy. "Oh, hi, Malachi," the woman said as she looked around Tom. "May I please come in to speak to you for a moment? I didn't mean to wake you guys up." "Yeah, I guess that would be all right," Malachi said, and crossed his arms as he placed his hands in his armpits. The cool September morning had began to blow gusts of cold air through the house as Mrs. Bruce stared back up at him. With Malachi's response, Tommy opened the door wide enough to allow Lloyd's mother to pass through. Seconds later, after Tom closed the door, Mrs. Bruce turned and found Tommy to be only wearing his boxers. "Oh, Tommy, don't you know that summer is over, honey?" As the question came out of her mouth, Tommy seemed to have wrapped himself within his own arms and legs right before her eyes. Then, without another word, the woman turned back towards Malachi as she headed up the steps. "Well, what can I do for you today, Mrs. Bruce?" Malachi asked as he led the way into the kitchen. Seconds later, out of the corner of his eye, he saw Tommy, nearly naked, quickly dart down the hallway. "Well, honey, actually I'm here for someone else," Mrs. Bruce said as she sat down at the table. "Have you ever heard of a man named Stan Helsel?" Immediately following her question, he saw a puzzled look cross Malachi's face. "Anyway, hun, this man has a son named Scott. 6 years ago, when Scott was born, he was diagnosed by the doctors with progeria." "Yeah," Malachi interrupted. "I remember seeing the article in the paper years ago." "That's right," the woman responded as she pointed at the 33-year-old. "The article was on the front page. Anyway, I was talking to Stan, alone to where no one could hear our conversation, and I had mentioned to him that I knew of a place where, when his son passes on, that his spiritual being could continue to live." As she continued to speak, he saw a look of surprise cross Malachi's face. "Don't worry, Malachi, I didn't tell him where." Suddenly, along with her supportive comment, Mrs. Bruce peered towards her own left hand as an impression of a child's hand and fingers had appeared on her skin. Lightly, with her right hand, she attempted to hold her son's hand. With her attempt, she felt a tingle that made her face seem to glow. "Hello, Lloyd?" She interrupted herself. "I love you, son," she said as she stared at her own arm. Then, as she looked back towards Malachi, simultaneously continuing to hold her son's hand, she continued, "I told Stan that his son would have friends his own age. Malachi, the doctors say that Scott will be passing away soon. I really need to know if it's all right if the child dies in your home. His parents are not prepared to lose him. This child is so—" "Mrs. Bruce," Malachi interrupted. "Yes, it's all right with me. Let me check with Nicole first, but then I'll let you know. I'm sure that it'll be okay with her too." "Wow, we're gonna have another friend," James said as him and Sterling both watched Lloyd hold onto his mom's hand. "That'll be cool." "Yeah, that will be nice," Sterling commented as he stood beside Lloyd and put his hand on the 8-year-old's shoulder. Lloyd's eyes had begun to water as excitement raced through his body. It had been at least 4 months since he had seen his mom, especially now that Tommy and Lucifer can't see us anymore. "I remember how cool it was when Jason was with us. Until he crossed over, that is," James commented. The memories of their friend was just as fresh as if it was only yesterday that Jason, Lucifer, and Tommy had regularly played together and took learning lessons from himself, Lloyd, and Sterling. "Well, we'll just have to make Scott understand that crossing over is something that will take him completely away from his parents and away from his parents' wishes," Sterling said as he had also began to rub Lloyd's back. "Remember that we had tried to convince Jason of that also?"